Namibia's Forgotten Genocide: How Germany Wiped Out 85% of the Herero people. Before the Holocaust, there was Namibia. In the early 1900s, German colonial forces killed tens of thousands of Herero and Nama people in what many historians now call the first genocide of the 20th century. Up to 85% of the Herero population was wiped out. Over half of the Nama people were exterminated. Survivors were put in concentration camps. Their skulls were shipped to Germany for racial science experiments. And for more than a century, this genocide was erased from European memory. This is the story of Germany's crimes in Namibia and why the so-called reparations still fall short of justice. Colonial Namibia. In 1884, Germany claimed modern-day Namibia as German Southwest Africa, one of its few colonies during the scramble for Africa. They encountered Herero pastoralists and Nama communities, both long established and self-governing. But German settlers wanted land for ranching, control of trade, and above all, domination of the African population. From the start, the German rule involved forced labor, land seizure, and violent suppression. Rebellion and extermination. In 1904, the Herero people rose in armed resistance after years of dispossession and abuse. Germany responded with total war. General Lothar von Trotha issued an explicit order. Every Herero found inside the German borders, with or without a gun, with or without cattle, is to be shot. I do not accept women or children either. The result? Out of an estimated 80,000 Herero, over 65,000 were killed, more than 85%. For the Nama, 10,000 of 20,000 perished, a loss of 50%. Survivors were pushed into the Kalahari Desert, where German patrols poisoned waterholes. Many of the Herero and Nama people died of thirst, hunger, and exposure. Captured Herero and Nama survivors were not freed. They were imprisoned in concentration camps. The most infamous was Shark Island, located off Lüderitz Bay, often called Death Island. Herero and Nama prisoners were forced to perform hard labor. Medical experiments were carried out on them. Skulls were sent to Berlin for anthropological studies promoting white supremacy. Mortality rates in these camps exceeded 40%. Scientific racism and the roots of Nazi ideology. German scientists, including those from the prestigious Kaiser Wilhelm Institute, used Herero and Nama remains to prove Aryan superiority. Some of the very researchers involved in Namibia laid the groundwork for Nazi racial ideology decades later. This genocide wasn't just about conquest, it was about constructing a racial hierarchy, using African lives as biological evidence. Germany's recognition a century later. For most of the 20th century, Germany refused to acknowledge the genocide. Only in 2004, 100 years later, did a German minister first express regret. In 2021, Germany finally formally recognized the Herero and Nama genocide. They announced a 1.1 billion euro package over 30 years. Funds were to be directed to infrastructure, healthcare, and education in affected communities, but no direct reparations to descendants, and no legal liability, just a political gesture. Is this restitution fair? Let's put the number in context. 1.1 billion over 30 years is around 37 million euro per year. Germany's 2023 million budget was over 50 billion. Namibia's GDP in comparison is around 12 billion total. Meanwhile, the genocide wiped out over 70,000 lives. Stole land still controlled today by white Namibian settlers, descendants of the Germans. Left descendants of Herero and Nama people in poverty, while settler communities retain economic dominance. The Herero Traditional Authority has rejected the deal, calling it insulting and demanding at least 400 billion in reparations. So, is 1.1 billion euro enough for attempted ethnic cleansing? A legacy of injustice. To this day, Herero and Nama people are still fighting to reclaim ancestral lands. They are excluded from many high-level negotiations. German companies continue to profit from Namibia's resources. Namibia remains one of the most unequal countries in the world, with racial disparities rooted in colonial dispossession. In 2023, Herero activists took Germany to the US Supreme Court seeking reparations, but the court dismissed the case. Germany's official stance: we regret what happened, but we are not legally responsible. So why does this still matter? The Herero and Nama genocide was a template for the 20th century colonial brutality, including the Holocaust. It combined racial ideology with industrialized extermination. It was the first genocide of the modern era, and it remains one of the least remembered. Until the world recognizes colonial genocide as part of its history, justice will remain out of reach for millions. Reparations aren't about charity, they are about accountability. If you believe this history needs to be remembered, please like, share, and subscribe. Also drop a comment. Should Germany pay direct reparations? Should descendants of colonial crimes be compensated? Let's make sure the Herero and Nama people are not just a footnote in European history, but the start of a global demand for colonial justice.